football coach we're excited to have on. He's from Ohio, Dublin Coffman High School, Geron Stokes. He's in his third season at Dublin Coffman. He's had some nice build-up success there. He's he's coached for 15 years at the high school level. He started at a high school, his alma mater, Urbana, where he had a career record of 29-13. Then he went on for a few years to Minster High School, where he won 2 state championships, which the more I listen to guys and we talk, Coach Teeden, about state champions, and we just lived it. We just went through our high school basketball one. It is so hard to win a state championship.
So
And when you talk to guys that have two, it blows my mind. Last year he went to the region final. And also one of our former guests, Brooke Cups, said that he has a record of 50-2 as a basketball coach. 50-2. So not only can he just coach his butt off at football, it must just be for everywhere. So, Coach, I know we've had some comedy here. My apologies. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm great, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
Well, let's go ahead and get started with the title question. How are you wired?
Oh man, how am I wired? I would say I am. Geez, I've thought about this question a lot too, and I'm wired to be in a fight with my people, not against my people, but like with my people, and that fight is to get better, to challenge everything, to like die completely exhausted with my people. That's how I'm wired. I think.
Man,
I love that you use the word fight. I think, football coaches always seem to have a little bit of an edge. So I love that you use the word fight and with your people to get better. One thing I noticed on your X, you love the word relentless. Tell me about relentless and that attitude. You kind of goes hand in hand with the word fight.
Yeah, that's kind of like my life word. It's become like our program. It's become stuff that people make fun of me about. Like it's like it's
Yeah.
it's like the only piece of clothing that I usually wear. And everybody, it's just I just say it all the time. Like we're unkillable. Like we're unkillable. I remember we were losing in the state finals, and we were getting beat. We ended up getting beat. We ended up the state runner up. And one of our kids, our starting center, who had poured his heart and soul into it for 4 years, was like incredible growth. He came over to the sidelines just a mess with like 4 minutes to go, and I looked right at him, and I love this kid to death now, and I looked right at him and said, like, we're just getting beat. Like no one got diagnosed with cancer. No one's mom died. Like we're getting beat. Like we cannot be defeated. Like people like us can't be beat. Like the scoreboard could say we've lost the game, but we cannot lose. Like we're unkillable. Like we'll get better from this. We'll be fine. This stuff will make us better, and we'll go on. And then you come to find out we've had 2 kids with cancer. We've had 3 kids with cancer now. Actually, we've had all these life things that have happened, and I feel like it's just become part of our purpose to like use football, use teaching, use relationships with kids to like teach the skill that I think all of us humans need is like, man, we're going to go through it. Like, we're going to go through it, and we're going to keep swinging. Stand up, stand up, stand up, and go again. So it's become like our life work and our program. So,
wow. Yeah, Coach, what a start. And that is just great way to get going. And I would love to know how your mentors have inspired you throughout your career and maybe who some of those guys are.
yeah, I got a ton, man. God dang, I love talking about this because the older you get, the more grateful you become, and even from like the bad guys I learned from, which I learned from a ton of those guys too. And um, I go to it, man. Like I've been so lucky. My grandpas, my dad, my stepdad, my mom, like I got lucky. I was like a volunteer freshman coach for a couple years where I got to basketball, where I got to get reps coaching and making mistakes. I got to coach a AAU girls basketball team at like a 17 and under AAU girls basketball team by myself. Like I had a girls basketball coach in high school that was like a huge mentor to me. Um, then I got to play in high school for a great football coach, a tough guy, hard, demanding, tough guy. And then I got to go to college, and I wasn't good enough to play at a very high level, so I got to learn from like 18 different guys, coaches that like were in and out, just shuffling through the doors. Um, and then I got to coach with some good people, and I got to coach with Brooke Cups. You mentioned I've had umpteen million guys. Some of my buddies that are like one of my best buddies, the head women's coach at Ohio Northern University. He's killing it right now. I've been so fortunate to be around so many like sharp, successful, hungry, driven people, and I don't know if I'd be where I'm at today if I know that I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it weren't for like just sheer luck, man. Like I look at some of these guys that come be an assistant for us, or buddies I know that coach, and their mentors are like really bad people. Like they look up to those people, and they don't understand. If I call them flat earthers, like they don't know what what's out there, man. Like and it's not their fault. They just haven't seen it. They haven't learned. And I was just really, really, really grateful to like fortunate to learn from the people I've learned from.
I love your take, though. We often think about the good things, like the good coaches that we saw, but you referenced, hey, there's some coaches that didn't do it the right way, and I still learned from that. I mean, too often we only, highlight the good, but you also took the bad. Was there anything in particular that you saw from maybe those bad coaching experiences? Like, man, I'm not going to do it that way.
I honestly believe you can reverse engineer this, and you can say like I've learned more. Like,
Yeah.
I learned more from the bad people. Like I go and watch people, and I'm like, all right, like in this meeting, this guy didn't ask one question, so I'm gonna like I always write down, ask more questions. Like,
Yeah.
don't sit here and talk to this kid, or this guy has no clue whether like they're paying attention or not. So like walk around the room and make sure you know they're paying attention. I feel like if you reverse engineer, you learn more, like reemphasize or things that like to do from the people that don't do it. Like,
Right.
this guy treated this kid really poorly. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's not. Remember, love the heck out of your guys, man. You can go through it. I'm sure you guys could too. Like the people that like, you see bad people or bad coaches, you're like, damn, I'm not going. I'm not going to be that way.
Coach, I got to ask you a question. You won 2 state titles. You had success. You come to a new program that's had some winning success themselves. How do you come into that program and kind of put your own craft to it? And because there I don't know, I've only experienced the other side of it where I've come into a losing program, so the expectations are lower. But when you coming into a winning program, how do you come into that and put your own stamp on things when they've already had kind of sort of success?
Yeah, I'm honestly not very good at it. So I don't know if this is like earth-shattering stuff, but I come in like 100% all in. We're going to do it my way. Like every time it's been like I've been the stepdad where like I'm like these are the kids, like this is the behavior that we're going to accept in our house, and like I haven't been able. Year ones for me have been, for us really have been the best, where I can be as like the most authentic, the most clear, the most commanding. Like, this is the way we're going to do it. I'm not going to budge. You can fire me. This is what you guys said, because I don't ever BS anybody in the interview process. Like, I don't tell them, hey, we're going to do it this way, and then I'm not going to tell you my bad. So I go and tell you, this is who I am. We're going to do it. If you don't want that, tell me. I'll be fine. I tell my wife, the moment you don't want to be married with me, you tell me. I'm out. Like, we're good. Like, we're going to do it this way. And all the administrators are like, yeah, it's exactly what we want. It's exactly what we
Right.
need. We need that. And then you get there like, whoa, no, are you sure you're going to do it this way? I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. And I don't know if it's arrogance or confidence or just sureness. But I believe in the why behind what we do. Like we're going to fix behaviors. We're going to challenge people to be better. And I don't flinch on that at all. And if that's not for you, that's not for you. If I'm too rough or I'm too demanding or we expect too much, our standards are too high, that's your choice. That's not my choice. So I go in like, I guess, just like a bat out of hell, and we're going to do it this way. And it's going to be hard for you because you've done it a different way to jump on board. I want you to jump on board, but if you don't want it, I can't force you to, because somebody eventually will, because it's right. Like we're a character-based football program, and we use football as a platform to like teach leadership and character and all the values and behaviors that you guys do. Everybody does. It's hard to argue against.
Yeah,
So,
I agree, Coach. I agree. And the good thing is people will opt out if they're not they don't want to live to that standard. And that's okay, because as we talked about, there's other coaches that do things different ways, and that might be a better fit. I've had some people opt out recently, and that used to like hurt my feelings. They'd transfer, they'd decide, and initially it hurt my feelings. But then I got to the point where I realized, number one, that's the world we live in now. And number two, we were better off for it. And so were they. They had better opportunities at that place. So I love it. I love it. But let's talk a little football. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's also kudos to the administration too, because, often it's, the instant gratification, we got to win. Winning becomes priority, and it's not the relationships. It's not, they say those things, but they really want, hey, we got to make sure the stadium's full. We got to make sure, we're getting wins. So it's, it's a two-way street, because I've seen some coaches come into situations where, they're trying to change character and they didn't get full support from admin. And that's always a tough deal.
Now everybody wants it to be a little bit smoother. Everybody
Absolutely.
pictures
Yep.
this picture where like, hey, can we have the bacon, but can we keep the pig alive too? Like everybody wants that.
That's a
It's
great
like,
way to put
guys,
it.
you gotta kill the pig. The pig's gotta die. Like I hate to break that to you, man. They want it to be smooth, but you guys know this. Like we have like 1,800 kids in our school. Most of them are great kids. Not all of them want to play football. They don't want high standards in their life. Adults don't want super high standards in their life. That doesn't make them bad people. That just doesn't mean that just means they can't be a part of what we're doing. Like that's okay. That doesn't make it's okay. Go do your thing, but you don't have to like throw shots at me because like we're going to do it this way. That's okay. Yeah.
Coach plays favorites. That's they always get down. They start making all those little whatever passive aggressive things. So let's talk a little football, and then we'll get in some other stuff. But when I walk into a DC practice, what do I feel? What do I feel when I walk into that workout or a practice? Like, I love the smile you got right now. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, this is like our deal here. Like when people walk up, they go, "Holy cow!" Like, is this like this every day? And even like new kids would like, is this like this every day? Like we are loud, extremely high energy. We are moving. We are slapping fives. We're clapping our hands. Rambunctious a little bit. Like we are an extremely hardworking. You get a feel of efficient effort and a ton of energy. I believe when you're jacked up out of your mind, excited about life, excited about work, like it's just easier to do it rather than like dreading what you're doing. And I tell people all the time, I've never done a drug in my life. I've never done cocaine or anything like that. But it's got to be it's got to be similar to the feeling I get at practice or at a lift. Like I am, and our coaches do too, and our kids end up catching the feeling too. It's super contagious. It's very hard to be a slug that like goes through the motion and like woe is me and mopey guy in our environment, because you'll just like you get taken over by the energy. You get suffocated out. So you would feel a lot of energy.
So now, was in the beginning? Sorry, Coach. In the beginning, was this energy like from you, and then it kind of like peeled off to your team? Like, because I'll be honest, I'm very similar. I'm a very energetic. I love to bring, but especially this season with some of the things that I went through, there's been some days where I just didn't have it, but I got picked up from some other people. Was that something you developed with your coaching staff that kind of developed into your leaders on your team? How is that built in within your team?
Yeah, I believe like if I'm gonna like say that we're gonna be a high energy team, like I cannot have an off day. Like
Right.
I can't. I've talked about this another time. Like my purpose drives my energy. Like I don't I kind of like brag to our kids a little bit. Like when's the last time I haven't brought it? Like
Right.
it's my responsibility as like I feel like so much in my chest to like before I get out of the car, I have to be on my stuff. Like I have to be. Or how in the heck can I ask our offensive line coach to have great energy? Or how can I ask our quarterback to have great energy? How can I ask anybody involved in our program to have great energy if I'm not going to bring it every single day? And I'm a competitive nut. Like I'm like a just like you guys are, it's like sociopathic competitive. And that's a competition for me. Like, can you bring it every day? Like you can't be like the high energy guy on Monday and then like, oh, because you were tired or you had a tough conversation or a kid quit. Now you're going to be this low energy guy. Like I'm bringing it every single day. And that's like a challenge for me and just responsibility. Like you say that's who you want to be. Like you say that's how your program is going to be. Like, can you do it every day? Like that's the fun part.
Yeah.
So would you say, like, does your basketball team have this kind of energy? Is that the kind of energy you have when you go to a Centerville practice? What do you, I mean, I know the answer to Centerville, but what about there at your school or the other schools you've been at? Do the other teams have that, or is that they haven't picked up on it?
I think it just stems from the leader. Their teams reflect the leader's energy. You know this. There's people that have low energy that are great coaches. Like there's people that are very like stoic um, and their teams reflect that. And people have won all different kinds of ways. This is how I am. Like I've been always been like an obnoxious kid. I've always been, and that's how I want to live. Like when I can feel my voice going right now. Like I can feel myself getting jacked up. That's how we do things. So we're going to do them like that all the time. I just feel like it's who I am and who I want our program to be. You can't out energy us, and it goes right along with being relentless. Like we're going to do it every day, 24/7 day, 24/7, 365 days a week or a year.
One thing that fascinates me, with football, Joe and I will have 15 guys on a roster, 30 if you count JV and whatever, but primarily we're focused on our varsity team, 15 guys. How many do you could have 65 to 80 guys in your roster? How do you build those? And I know you're a relationship coach. How do you build that relationship with your whole team and not just specific guys?
Really hard. It's honestly been the biggest challenge, uh, moving to, like, a big school is, like, guys, how like, I've forever said, like, we're gonna maximize everybody in our program, and we're gonna pour our whole heart and soul into every single kid, and it's like, we got to 80 kids, like, I'm like, "Guys," I would call people like, "How in the heck do you?" 'Cause we don't let anybody off the hook. Like, we're not we're teaching football, and we're, like, trying to be really good schematically and fundamentally, and I get all that. But you know what like the most fun part about coaching is taking that kid that's really terrible at football, like number 79 on your roster, and he's terrible at football, but he learns how to show up every single day, and then he learns how to confront people and like take ownership in some type of role, and like he thrives in your program. And it was really hard for me the first couple years to like, guys, how do I have time to get to know this kid? Like he's number 79 in our program. Like we've gotten better assistant coaches with better relationships. I've gotten better assistant coaches who can like help with other things, and I've just spent more time like having individual conversations with each kid and just trying. It's just more intentional time investment because it's hard. 80 kids, man. We're at like 75 right now, plus incoming freshmen. Like is another like 40. So it like irks me. Like, God dang it, I don't know this kid's name. Like, I got to get to know this kid's name. What's this kid's name? And then I go home and I say it like 75 times. Like, I'm gonna build a relationship with Joe. Like, Joe's my guy now, and make sure that they get that. The worst thing is like when they come to you and they're like, Coach, like I just don't really feel like I'm a part of the program. They like that
Right.
that busts my chops. Like, God dang it, we want you a part of our program. We've just been busy doing other things and not being aware of the relationship we had with this kid. So we try our butts off, man. We try. It's hard, but
Yeah.
that's the coolest part about why you do your job.
Now, I heard you talk about how your program has a culture of feedback, and I love that. And we strive to do it, and there has to be a level of trust. Um, how do you communicate the roles, the playing time? Do you have the one-on-one meetings? Are you throwing a depth chart up? I know you're very direct. How are you having those meetings?
We do a lot of stuff as a team. Like we say a lot of. I bet the leadership gurus would probably watch our team meeting and be like, "Well, you could probably do that in a one-on-one meeting, or you could probably say that with a little bit more grace." But our kids, I believe this wholeheartedly. If your intentions are right, like I feel like people feel, see, taste, smell, hear your intentions. Like
Mm.
if you're doing it to like win a game, or you're doing it to like I don't know, for the betterment of you, maybe. I think it matters how you say it. But when your intentions are right, I'm not sure it matters how you say it. Like, it can be in front of the group and it can feel embarrassing, but I feel like people know where we come from. Not all the time. We make mistakes, but like I feel like people say, you know what? Like, hey, did you hear that? Like, that was tough. That was rough. And they'll tap the kid on his back and be like, hey, we're with you, because they know we're with them too. We're going to do what's best for our team. We have one-on-ones. We'll pull people in and talk to them one-on-one, but we're open, man. We're open. And we do it with our staff too. Like, we're very open. And that's not for everybody. That bothers some people, but I always go back to this. You know where we stand. You know we freaking care. Like, and we care a ton. It's not like we don't dabble and care. Like, we're in it for everybody. And if that makes you uncomfortable, I apologize, but like that's what we need to do to win. So that's not what we need to do to get the most out of this group. That's what we need to do to get the most out of you. So like, we're pretty open and direct.
Coach, I mean, you're telling me you're a truth teller. Has it always been that way for you? Is that something like you've kind of had to develop as a coach? Is it easier now than it was when you first started? How has that developed for you?
Honestly, I've always been a truth teller, and that's not always been a very positive thing. I have had to become more skilled at being a truth teller. Like,
Right,
I would be a truth teller to be a jerk a lot
right,
of the times, and be like, I'm a truth teller, man. Like, now I just do that a little bit.
right, right. I know what you mean.
But there is there's a skill to it. Like, there's a skill to it, and um, I also believe part of the biggest part of my growth is like my level of care for people. You go into coaching, you want to be the head coach. Like, I want to be a head coach. It had nothing to do with really like people. And then it was like, all right, once you became the head coach, then you got to validate, and like you got to win. Like, I want to prove to people that I can be the head coach and win. And then like you win, it's like, okay, I really internally, like I want to love the shit out of people. Like, I want to help. I want to help. That's where I get my energy from, watching people grow. And so now, okay, you get it by being a truth teller, but like you got to be more skilled as a truth teller. Like, you can't just be reckless with your stuff. And I believe intentions matter, and they feel it, smell it, taste it, hear it. Like, they can catch it. So yeah, it's not always been a good thing. It's still not always a good
No, I,
thing.
I think it's great. Intentions matter. I mean, like, are you reaming me out because you think this guy behind me is better than me? Like, or like, like, yeah, and I think you're right. Kids smell it out like in a heartbeat,
I watched it
for
today.
sure.
I went and watched a college practice, and I watched it today. And I watched the head coach walk up to this kid and just mother f this kid, and like right in his face. And it, driving home, I was with my buddy, and I go, like that, like, I've done that before. Not like you lose it on a kid or whatever, and it's like, that's just my ego, like, hurting because I tell myself I'm smart. The scheme, the things I coached you to do were right, and you screwed it up, and you're making me look bad. And
Mm.
the more you can get away from that, like that's not right. Like that, I said, man, like you got to just remove your ego and like it's got to be about helping that kid. I haven't coached you right. You made that mistake because I haven't coached you well enough. Like it's got to just be ownership, and it takes a lot of like mistakes making those reps, and finally coming to grips with, you know what, like maybe I'm not good enough.
Right.
Maybe I'm the problem.
I used to always say that. I used to always say, like, if you dribbled off your foot, it wasn't your fault. It was my fault. And for a bunch of reasons, my fault that I didn't work with you enough, my fault that you were in the game at that time or whatever it may be. But I always said that. And then we talk about like yelling at people and going nuts on them as we sometimes do as coaches. What other profession in the world can you do that and get away with it? And it's just, it's not right. It's not like you talked about that player early on. We're just losing a game. We're not losing a life right now. We're not losing a job. We're not all these things that you're going to have in front of you in life. Like you're not, you can't do that in your job. You just can't just start yelling at people and cursing at them and getting in their face and all those things. And I love to hear that. So I know we talked about, having bacon and and the pig has to go down. Uh, how do you embrace families in your program? Do you do anything special for them? Is it, don't talk to me?
So we've been in 3 really good places, where our families have cared a ton. But each time I've taken the job, the families have been too involved. Um, the parents thought they had say, they wanted say. The parent, my first year at Minster, it was like parent nightmare. They got them shirts. They were going to band together against the coach, and the parents were going to support their kids. Which I love that part. Like you can win at a place like that. Like you can implement your program at a place like that because people care. I'm fine with that. We've tried to like weed out the parents. We've been at like high end socioeconomic places the last 2 jobs, and the parents are involved. And I think there's something to be said, like parents being too involved. And I want communication to go through the kid. I want the kids to have their experience. We love great parents. We love great parents. I have a parent meeting before the season starts. Like we love great parents. The kids are showing up. They're doing a great job. You guys are doing. Just tell your kids you love them. You appreciate how hard they're working. Like and keep show up the next day. Show up the next day. So we haven't done a ton with our parents, and it's been super intentional. Not that like I'm like not scared of parents or I don't want to communicate with parents. I just want the responsibility. I had a mom that communicated for me when I was in high school. Like I had a mom that was like, and I look back on that and I'm embarrassed. Like mom loved me. She loved the crap out of me. Mom was just trying to do what was best for me in her mind. I want the young Geron to like speak up for himself. Like I want to teach that. So we've kept parents. Now we have a senior deal that we do where we bring like a whole senior week where we bring the parents in, we bring the families in. Like it's a special deal to like graduate in our program. The last like week or 2 of the regular season, it's kind of a big deal, but we try to keep the parents out as much as possible on purpose.
I love that you said speaking of your own self. I mean, you had a mom speak for you, and my own boys. I try to stay away and not do the same thing. And it gets hard because that's the thing is as a parent now and a coach, you see kind of both ends of it because you just kind of want what's best for your kid, and it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough.
It really is. So kind of this leads into the recruiting process. Parents are involved, and there's a lot of players and things involved in the recruiting process. And I think football still has a heavy hand in the recruiting process. How are you involved with your kids in that process, and what do you do to help them out? And how does it look for you guys in Ohio?
Man, recruiting bothers me so much, and I say that like with the most like respect to our guys, because honestly, the problems all stem from the kids going, man, I want to get a scholarship. Like that is such the wrong approach. And I'm sure it works for people. Like it's a great goal to have. but recruiting is so easy now. It's not, it wasn't what it was like 15 years ago or 20 years ago. Like recruiting is so easy. Your tape is out there for everybody to see. And I can send it to 150 colleges like in 5 seconds, and they'll evaluate it within 10 minutes and go, yes, no. Like we now have a showcase on our campus, like May 6th, where we have 100 coaches, college coaches, come and just watch our kids just move and run around. Like, and then these kids are like, well, coach isn't doing enough to recruit me, or could you send this guy's tape? They've seen it, man. They've seen it. There are no sleepers anymore. Like this isn't 15, 20 years ago. Like, so I talk to college coaches all the time. I think they're some of the worst listeners, evaluators on the planet, but that's just my opinion. But it's 2024. Like we send this stuff out. I send everybody the recruiting sheet with all the huddle links and all, like everything's out there. The grade point average, everything's out there to be recruited. We got websites now that like you can put your name up on there, and all the colleges, like it's the parents and the kids that just seek it. Like, God dang, you're going to be disappointed because your college experience ain't going to be that great anyway. Like, just enjoy it and let like Brooke Cups, surrender the outcome, man. Like, just go enjoy the frick out of your high school experience. And if you're good enough, you're good enough. If you're not, like I wasn't good enough. And I had a great high school experience. Like, that's okay. But we try to help them out as much as possible. I say that all that negativity stuff, we try to we do help them out.
Yeah, I mean it's and the what really screws people up too are the words don't mean what they mean. An offer really isn't an offer. Is it a committable offer? Is it a preferred walk-on offer? Is it just an offer? Hey, we're recruiting you. Like, so people lose their minds because then it gets on social media and then becomes an ego thing. And then next thing you know, how do I get offers? Coach, why aren't you getting me offers? Like, well, listen, he can't commit to that offer. Or I would tell him to commit right away, right? Oh, he has an offer from Georgia. Go take it. But it's not real. It's not a real offer. We're recruiting you. We're going to follow you a little bit more kind of thing. So it's crazy. So I want to ask you here, because I know everybody, we're working hard. We're high energy. We're bought in. But there are sometimes problems, I would imagine. And I was talking to one of my former players today because he went and worked at a college this year as a student assistant. And I just said, hey, I've never asked you this because I really don't ask the seniors because I don't always get the best feedback, not best like me best, but just, I don't know. They're not good at giving feedback until they see something else. And so he's at a school now. And I just said, hey, I was curious, what did you enjoy about my coaching and what did you not enjoy? And one thing he brought up is that he as a captain would come and say, hey, we need to be a little more heavy fisted with this kid. And he didn't feel like I acted on it. And it got back to the balance of talent and culture. So I would love to know how you might balance talent and culture in terms of behaviors or behavior problem kind of things that might come across your desk.
Yeah, that's a great question. Because if you were 100% character based, you'd put some bad players out there. Like if you're 100% talent based, you'd put some bad characters out there. Like it's such a good question. So I would say like our coaching staff would answer it like this: we fight every fight. We fight every fight. So like any type of problem, any type of behavior that we don't like enjoy, we confront it every single time. And like I'm going right to a player right now. He was a pain. Like he wanted to resist, wanted to question, wanted to defy everything. And those type of people will be miserable in our program. They'll just be miserable in our program, and they're super talented. They will play to an extent. We never kick anybody off the team unless like you do something like crazy bad. You will either choose to change or you will quit, like that. And those are the two options. And I don't apologize for either one of them. because we're just going to hold you to standards that you're going to have to behave to. And someday you'll either be grateful that you met the standard, or someday you'll be like regretful that you chose to opt out and not meet those standards. And so we'll take playing time away. We'll do a lot of physical punishment, but you know what? The best thing, honestly, the best thing we do is like we'll have the team like confront. We'll have the kids confront and say like, "What do you guys want to do with him?" Like this kid, he refuses to practice hard. Like he refuses to stop smoking. Like this kid is smoking on the weekends. We can't catch him. We can't. But we know this kid's a pothead, or we know this kid's vaping. Like at some point, this is going to reflect on our program. You guys got to change it, seniors. And it's usually, we don't, it's not perfect. We have high school kids. Like they're gonna do stupid stuff like you and I did, and they will forever. But we never give up on a kid, ever. They have to give up on us, or they have to change.
Peer juries, peer to peer, is always seems to me always the best. I feel like they never want to let their peers down. Ultimately, like it's the thing that I've always had a difficult time, and I'd love to hear your answer on this. Is how do you get your team to confront them, to call them out on those behaviors? What are some things do you do? Do you assign leadership? Do you let that develop within your team? How has that happened for you?
Our seniors own our program. Like they completely own our program. So like we'll have a kid that's struggling, not like, hey, this guy's talking back to our defensive line coach, and in the middle of practice, and at the end of practice, I'll have our seniors meet in the office, like, hey, and I'll bring the kid in and be like, what's going on? Like everyone knows this doesn't happen on successful teams. Everybody knows that. This isn't a new concept. Like we're not reinventing the wheel. Everybody knows like lazy behavior, or not running the football, or being undisciplined and not doing what your coaches ask. Everybody knows that happens on terrible football teams. Everybody knows that. I'm not trying to convince anybody. So, okay, guys, what are we going to do about that? Like, are we going to be a bad football team? Because like this isn't new. Like everybody knows this is the type of stuff that happens on bad teams. What it's happened on our team. So, are you guys going to take care of it, or am I going to take care of it? And usually they end up. It's uncomfortable. Like you get kids speaking up that you don't usually speak up, or we'll punish the kid, then we'll punish the seniors for not taking care of it. We'll have conversations till the end of the day, like anything and everything we'll try. But I'm telling you, putting them in a room and saying, like, you guys know, like this happens on the bad teams, right? Like, and I think because of the amount of investment that our seniors have, the amount of work that they poured in, like, it'll be the same thing. They'll get that kid to change or quit.
Coach, you really got me. And for those listeners, since we're audio only, Coach is like almost coming through his screen. He's so jacked talking about his program and the way he operates, and it's got me jacked. And today and yesterday, as I was researching you started talking about micro behaviors, and you just talked about a few, in the last question about how certain things happen on bad teams. Can you talk a little bit about those micro behaviors? Because that just got me like really excited. And I know it's silly, but it just got me really pumped up because you were mentioning that there's not that much difference between a good team and a bad team. And those
There's really
micro
not.
behaviors. Yeah. Can you reiterate or talk a little bit about those?
You know what our state championship teams did, or our team, not even state championship teams, the teams that overachieved, that were like, man, they were playing really, really good football at the end of the year, and like they were super close, and they like the behaviors were right, like they showed up on the all the time on time. Like that's a crazy thing, but like they showed up the first period on time, like that's like a. People were like, I just had a conversation with a kid 2 weeks ago. They're like, what does that have to do with me being a good football player? I said, you don't think like discipline is like a good trait to have? Like, come on, guys. Like micro behaviors. When you're supposed to do 3 sets of 5 in the squat rack, like doing the 5th rep. It's really incredible how many reps get cheated on bad teams. It's really incredible. It like when you're supposed to finish the drill, like you actually finish the drill. The people that lose have no idea how easy it would be to win if they just changed these tiny little things. I was watching a basketball team. Everybody does the closeout drill at the elbow, and then they shuffle back to the corner. Well, this team that got drilled by 30, like I know this is stupid, and I'm probably an old school coach. They shuffled back like halfway and then like went back to the line. But then you watch the other team who beat them by 30, like they literally shuffled all the way back to the corner and like jogged back to the line. Like I just believe that stuff translates. Like everyone sees the graphics online, like start behind the line, finish past the line. But it's a real thing. Like, are you consciously aware of? I say this in our program. Somebody, every second of everything that we do is trying to lower the standard. You guys know it. Your assistant coach is trying to lower the standard. He's trying to be off task, or your senior, he's trying to like joke around, or they're trying to start past the line. Somebody at all times is trying to lower the standard. And it's not because they're a bad person. It's because they're human, right? Like everybody, can you get enough of those behaviors corrected or thought about or spoken about so they're aware of them and they're handling it? Like, and we play whack-a-mole with them too, like, because it's nonstop. It's human behavior. Somebody at all times trying to lower the standard. And if you can get them to like not with tiny little things, like, holy cow, we started showing up on time. Guess what happens? Like, oh, we happen to kick a field goal at the end of the game to win the game, and it goes in instead of misses wide left. Like, do you think, and we always relate it back to, do you think that's because we started showing up on time? And the kids, at first are like, no, it doesn't have anything to do with it. Then you start teaching it enough, and then they start to believe like, hey, maybe it's because we practiced hard on Tuesday. Like, hey, maybe it's because like we confronted the behavior, or hey, maybe it's because we cleaned the locker room up. Like, maybe, yeah, we did start winning once we started cleaning the locker room up. That's crazy. Like, micro behaviors, man. It's one of them. It's cool.
I love it. I was going to ask you, are there any specific like little micro behaviors that you've honed in that you hit on every year that you talk about past teams, or are there any specific like that you got, like being on time or cleaning the locker room, or are there any more like specific behaviors that you hone in on?
Yeah, we're always two steps past the line in anything that we do. Like to finish a drill, to finish a rep in the weight room, like we're always two steps past. We clean the crap out of the locker room. Like the locker room is spotless, and that is a direct sign of a good team. Every single good team we've had has cleaned the crap out of the locker room. And we beat one of my buddies. We beat one of my buddies in a rain monsoon game, week 10. And I went into his locker room after the game, and it was they just got beat by a team that wasn't as good as they were, and their shoulder pads, jerseys, everything was just thrown all over the place. And I said, hey, dude, like, you know why we beat you? Like we weren't smarter than you, or like we were just tougher and more disciplined than you. Like, check out your locker room. Like, you can see it. Like, and I'm not being a jerk about that, but like I'm trying to like look at your locker room. Like you think them throwing their shoulder pads and you think they were super focused on that like rep on a Tuesday practice, like they were super intentional about where their right foot went, or where their hand placement was, or where their eyes were supposed to be. Like, this is the type of team you have. Like so we clean the crap out of the locker room. I'm trying to think. Start, strain, and finish every drill. On time is honest to God, on time is like our biggest fight right now. We are struggling to get kids to show up the first period on time. Like,
that's
It's
a national
everywhere.
problem.
It's everywhere.
A national problem.
It's everywhere. We and 2 years ago we won the district title, but I think we were like 4-9, 5-9 maybe going into the new year, and I didn't think we were going to beat anybody. I didn't know how good we are or were, and one day we had a pep rally, and we did a morning pep rally for whatever reason. And then day goes on, and I don't know about your school. For some reason at pep rallies, they just need to call them rallies instead of pep rallies, because everybody just leaves. They don't. It's about the 12 people in the student government doing it or whatever. No one. It's not about sports. It's not about anything. It's about those 12 people playing dizzy bat or something. I don't even know. Sorry. went a wrong direction there. But I went looking for a kid, and it was, I don't know, and kids, I don't know about kids at your school, they get out early. Like they do all these virtual classes now, so they leave school after fourth period, after fifth period, after sixth period. And so I go looking for a kid, and he was supposed to be in class and he wasn't there. So then I went looking for another kid, and he wasn't there either. And this is about 9:30. So everybody should have had a class at this time. So I decided to get online. I noticed all of them had either not come to school or they had signed out right after the pep rally. They just left. And I lost it. I lost it. And again, I'm not saying this had anything to do with what we did, but we ended up winning like 15 out of the next 16 games we played. When I said, look, if you sign out or if you leave before your contracted time or you get to school after your contracted time, you're done. And I will tell your parents because obviously they can't handle it. So I'm taking control of the situation. But if that happens, you're done. And we went, I mean, kids are calling me, hey, I got a doctor's appointment. I'm like, it's crazy how many doctors are open at like 7 a.m. sometimes. But I go, okay, that's important. You need to let your boss know you're not going to be there. So they'd get there late or whatever, but we won 15 out of 16. And I think it had a direct correlation to the discipline of that. We're doing things the right way. We're showing up, we're doing them. So I can totally relate, Coach, because again, we're back to it. I mean, everybody's showing up with Chick-fil-A and all the other, coffees and all that stuff that come in late. So now, I love it. You're just leading me to my next thing. So, man, the landscape is changing, Coach, and it's. I mean, we got teams not going to the NIT in college basketball now because the transfer portal opened today.
What a great time to open the transfer portal, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a fantastic time.
Yeah, even though the tampering's happening year round, but
right.
How are things in Ohio? How are things in the Ohio football landscape with the 7-on-7, the NIL, the transfer portal, just in high school now, not even college? How does that, is all that alive and well up there, or is that something that stayed out of the
We have a kid. I just read that we have some people challenging the 7-on-7 stuff. It's not up here yet, but it will be. It will be. NIL is not a thing that yet until someone's going to challenge it, and it's going to be hard to argue against it. Transferring is it's a thing in Columbus. It wasn't a thing. The last two places I was at, it was never a thing, but that to me is I see both ends of it. I see both ends of it. If you can get a better experience for your kid or get them in a situation where the program can help them, I get all that, but I just don't like the hoopla behind it. I'm transferring, I respect my decision. I don't, or the people trying to go out and get kids. I just think those people need hugs. I feel like those people just didn't get enough hugs when they were little, man. I just you didn't get held when you were a baby.
Need the attention.
The coaches and the kids. We're coaching high school football, man, or high school basketball. We're coaching kids to be better humans. That's it. And you're going to teach them a sport that they can play. So I don't really engage in a lot of that stuff. I don't care if they change the 7-on-7 rule. Guess what we'll do? We'll probably play some 7-on-7.
So you guys don't have 7-on-7, right?
Yeah,
that's huge down here for us. They're having national tournaments, and now there's it's kind of like travel basketball now down here for Florida.
Yeah, we don't have that yet.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's colder up here too.
Right.
It was snowing today.
It's a little harder.
Wow.
Yeah, a little harder.
A little cold.
All right, Coach. I got a couple questions. I know we're winding down, and I know Coach has got some other questions, but I got some sleepers here for you. So these are going to be kind of thrown out there, but they've got to be answered. Okay. All right. Yep. So rumor has it, I don't know if this is true or not. All right. Again, this is a rumor. I don't know. Is it true that you had a coach quit mid-game and just walk out of the press box? Is there truth to that one?
That's true. He may or may not have been my athletic director.
Oh, that's even better. Even better.
That was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Honest to God, the guy, the guy was our defensive coordinator when I was in high school. He was supposed to be helping me. I was struggling. They hired a 23 or 24-year-old kid to like coach a football team that I'd never been a coordinator before. I had no idea. All of our assistants were like younger than me, other than like one or two. And I was asking for help. I was an idiot. Instead of like leading me and helping me, which I'm not the victim in this situation. Like I was part of the problem as well. Yeah, that came straight from Coach Cups, I bet, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple more too, and
Let's
he's
go.
insisted that I ask. Oh, I got a couple more. So,
Let's
all
go.
right, what's the smallest plane you've ever flown on? I gotta hear this
Listen,
one.
I was with Ryan Hawk and them. These guys, I hate flying. I despise flying. I'd rather like I do a lot of things. I do a lot of things before I choose to fly. And we flew down to Fayetteville, Arkansas in July on this little tiny private plane, and I sweated more than I did in any workouts, all workouts combined for the year. Yeah, those
Oh
guys are
man.
jerks. We hit turbulence on the way back, and Ryan's head bounced off the top of the plane, at the ceiling, and
That
it was
sounds,
like stupid.
that sounds awful. Which leads me
It
to
was
the
crazy.
next one. You herd cattle? I mean, how good are you at herding cattle? Like this one, I
Listen,
gotta.
this guy, we used to go back after coaching basketball at games, and we'd go to Brooks' house, and they'd cook dinner, and we'd sit up till like 2 in the morning, like and 3 in the morning, like, and watch tape and relive the game all over again. Well, he made us all dress up. Coach Cups is a creepy dude, man. Like we had to wear a tie and like a vest. We have like 8 layers on to like look the part. I finally got him to like just wear like a polo or like now he's like in sweatpants, but we'd go back there and it was cold. Well, I took my pants off. Like we wear these khakis and I'd be sweating. I took my pants off. I was just in shorts and uh like 8 phones ring. Like these phones are like hidden in the couch and on the wall. 8 phones ring, and like the cows are out. The cows are out. Like what? Like so the cows are out. Well, then like 18 trucks start just flying around. Like and all these cows had got out of the pen or whatever you call it and went towards the town. They all go down there and chase them back. So here's like 12 cows like clopping all over the road, and I'm the only one down there standing. They're like, "Hey, get them in the pen." I'm like, "What do I do?" Like, there's cows just running at me. So I go, "Rah!" And all these cows hit the brakes and automatically turn left. It was awesome. I'm an elite cow herder. Is that what he called it?
I'll,
Yeah, herding
I'll,
cattle, herding cattle.
Herd, yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
I'll
The
watch
funny thing is,
I'll watch Yellowstone tonight and figure it out.
yeah, exactly. Funny thing is with basketball coaches, there was a time where we felt like, especially high school, you felt like the need to wear a shirt and tie. And now we've all regressed. Like we're all wearing polos and sweats and like, it's totally out of hand now. But
Listen. I've helped Coach Cups his dress immensely since the time we were together. We had t-shirt, collared shirt, tie, and one of those like heavy vests on top of
yeah.
it. We were coaching basketball. I'm like, what are we doing?
The Bobby Huggins school where he's like, I don't
Exactly.
coach practice in that. Why am I going to coach a game in it?
Right.
So coach, I do have a few more, so hopefully I'm not keeping you too long, but this
No,
is
you're
one
good.
thing. And I'm really like, I have guys and I really want to, but I really need to find my foxhole guys. And I know you're a foxhole guy and you got some guys around it. Like, I don't know if there's like a question that you can really answer, like, because it's kind of like when you know, but can you elaborate on how your guys became your foxhole guys?
Yeah, I've been very lucky to run into like really good people. That's part of it. But you know the people in your life that'll be there when it gets hard, and I do too. And I think I've done a good job of telling those people how much I love them and how grateful I am for them, and then showing them that I'll be there for them when they need it, and that gets reciprocated. And I I've just been lucky with those good people, and then I like nothing fills me up more than being with my foxhole. Like I'm about to turn 40 years old this year. Like I get emotional all the time. That to me is life. Like the people, and you gotta. Ryan said it. Like you gotta be it. You gotta be it to get it. And so I just set out to be like I'm gonna be a father. Like we one of my buddies got challenged at work. Like I'm gonna have his back. He was going through a health problem. I'm gonna check on him every single day. Um, I don't naturally ask about some of my buddies' kids, but I'm intentional about every time I talk to them. I ask. I have a note on my phone that says check in with your foxhole today. So I just reach out to my buddies. I'll send them a text. I'm grateful for you, man. And not everybody reciprocates it. Not everybody, but the foxhole people do. So it just builds a tighter, closer relationship.
I love that. And I always question, like, how do you find that true bond? How do you find that foxhole? Is there like a particular attribute that you look, because we all have different personalities, but we may have the same mindset. You know what I mean? Is there something like, is there a specific attribute that you kind of like, hey, that's my guy, that you look at?
They have to have high character. I They have to have high character. Like I just said this to my buddy. I'm an elitist. Like I'll be very arrogant about this. I'm an elitist about who I hang out with. I'm
Yeah.
not hanging out with slugs. I'm not hanging out with people that do stupid stuff. I used to. Like that used to be me. I'm not doing that anymore. Like I'm only going to hang out with high character people that are going to make me better. I always go back to this. Like, are you better or worse than me? Because if you're worse than me, like I'll help you, but you're probably not going to hang out with me very often. Like
Yeah.
I want people that are going to challenge me to like to stop drinking, to wake up earlier, to work out more often, to read more books, to love my wife more, like to be a better dad. Like I want people that motivate me to do that stuff. Not like, hey, you want to go out to the bar? Or, hey, like what are you up to this weekend? Or can you believe my boss did this? I don't want people like that in my life. So like I don't know if that answers your question, but like
No, it's a great answer. It's a great answer. Because we
you
preach
got
that
to
to
be
our
very
kids all the time. We
you got
preach
to
it
be
to our
very,
players.
very, very conscious of who you surround yourself with.
No doubt.
Very.
No doubt.
You got to be tough too. I can't hang out with soft people. I can't. The
Dang it.
whiny,
I'm
the
out.
victim, I can't, the non-working out. I just can't. I can't do that.
Oh, yeah. I forgot one question. You're a tough mudder. How many events have you won? That's the other one.
Listen. Coach Cup's always finished behind me. Just for the record, always finished behind me every time.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned you started reading and you read Patrick Lencioni's five what I draw a blank, but five
Five dysfunctions of a
dysfunctions.
team.
Yeah, and I loved it. I went on a deep dive of him a few summers ago when I first read that book. What are you reading now? When you read and you're learning, how do you implement some of the stuff, or just are you reading to learn? What are you reading now?
I just finished Surf When You Can by the guy that got kicked. He was in charge of the aircraft carrier during COVID and got booted out of that job. I'm reading Leadership and Self-Deception right now. It's challenging the crap out of me. The
Is that the Arbinger Group book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's challenging me as a husband, and as a coach. Michael Gervais' book was really good. Just finished that a little bit ago. The coolest part is like people. I used to be like I read 50 books or whatever. People kind of get the bad rap for like reading a ton of books now. Like you should focus on one book and implement it. Here's what I do, and I need to constantly fill my mind with positive stuff, with like helpful stuff constantly. Like if I take a day off from that, like I'll revert back to like who I used to be. I need to be constantly filled with, even if it's whatever. But how to implement it is I bombard our staff or my people with this stuff. I bombard them. Like I'll send them the podcast. I'll send them the book. I'll send them the pictures that I took from the book I'll write the note or whatever. And I try to like teach it. I try to teach it to our group or to our kids or to our staff. And so, like, the learner does the talking. I don't know where I just heard that. The learner does the talking. And by teaching it, I feel like it has a chance to stick more often. So I don't just read it and like not share it. And some people that bothers people. Like, you're pushing this on me. It's not for you. If you want it, it can be for you. It's for me.
Well said. There's a book coming out in about a week. I don't know. You probably already read it. I pre-ordered it on both Audible and hard copy. So I'm sure you've read it already, you jerk.
Yeah. Those guys are killing it. That book will be well read.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, we're gonna hit you with the last question, and it's one of those that it's kind of a curveball, so we throw it out there to not many people are prepared for it. But what bothers you most right now about high school athletics?
Oh, you guys got 2 hours? Let's go. I'm gonna be honest. What bothers me most about high school athletics is the education piece. I think we have the wrong leaders. No, that's the wrong term. We have the wrong people attempting to be leaders of places that they don't really want to be leaders of. Like we have people going into administration that don't. They went and their purpose was to go teach kids. They found out that was hard, or their purpose was to coach and teach kids. They found out that was hard. So they weren't making enough money. So they were like, oh, I'll just go back to school and become an administrator. Well, now they have to lead adults who need constantly held accountable and motivated, inspired, and led, and all the stuff. Honest to God, the education side of it bothers me more than anything. I think high school athletics are great. I think it's like the one place where kids can go struggle, learn, do hard things, like be held accountable, be challenged to work like incredibly hard. Like I just worry about the leadership. Like, are you really leading the school because you care about people and you want to help people? Like, are you really leading a school because you want to help lead the adults? Do you really want to support people? Is it about you, or is it about serving people? I feel like maybe I'm just a disgruntled 40-year-old right now. I feel like the leadership has changed. The purpose of why these people are put in place or they took these jobs is not the right purpose. And that's not a shot at anybody. I hope somebody that listens to that and says, well, I'm an administrator, I hope it challenges you to like, are your intentions right? Because I see a lot of people that struggle to lead because it's hard, and you got to be really good, and you got to care about people. And for some reason, that seems fairly tough.
It's an interesting point you bring up, because I don't know how it is for us. The retention rate, the turnover, an admin or a leader in one school is only there for, maybe a couple of years, and they're trying to get a promotion. They're moving here, they're moving on. Is that something to do with it as well? You know what I mean? It's where like they're always looking for that better job or that more money. It's an interesting point you make.
Those two things right there.
Yeah.
Those two things are exactly it. Looking for a better job and looking for money. Well, whatever happened to like I went into this position to lead people.
Right.
But that their purpose is so screwed up. And they really wanted to just coach and teach kids. That's why they went into education. And then all of a sudden they want a better job and they want more money. When you're chasing those two things, your ass is in trouble. You're gonna have a hard time leading people.
No doubt. That's a great point. I didn't really think about it much until you said it. And that happens quite a bit. It's often.
Well, Coach, we could, like you said, go on for a couple more hours.
No doubt, man. It's been awesome.
And yeah, we felt we're going to have a lot of juice tonight, and you brought it, and we really appreciate it. And I'm sorry I can't be in your foxhole because I'm soft, but I'll work on it. But Coach, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.